Welcome to my little Kombucha SCOBY fashion experiment. I've just started on making a Kombucha SCOBY or mother hat. Just came up with the idea that I should really be filming this just in case it turns out to be absolutely amazing. I'll show you where I'm at and my thoughts along this process of this fun little experiment here. I've got a whole heap of SCOBY here, so I've bred this in a storage container basically, and this is the top layer. It's nice and thick. It was a good, I don't know, 8 liters of tea and sugar, and you can see the original mother that I put in here was quite small. Over the period of a few months, formed over the whole surface and created a nice thick layer. Just going back to a little clip I took of it a week ago. As you can see, lots and lots of layers and really healthy SCOBY that I've grown here. This is the older layer that I've just cut a nice circle out of, and I've started my mold over here for the hat. So basically what we've got here is just an upside down rubbish bin. I've stuck a little bit of cardboard on top. I've coated it in coconut oil so that it doesn't stick for when it all dries. I can peel it off nicely. The wonderful thing about Kombucha SCOBY is that you don't need to stitch it together. It is a seamless garment of a hat. Basically what happens is you put one SCOBY onto another, and as it dries it seals really tight, nice and tight to itself as it dries, and the bond from the joins are even stronger than the parts that aren't joined together. So one of the many wonders of the beautiful rich Kombucha SCOBY. Basically I'm just going to rest all the pieces on each other around the mold, create a nice hat shape, and then dry it in the sun for a day or two and see how it goes. It's going to be nice and fun. Thanks for joining me for this journey. Hopefully in a couple days time I have a nice vegan leather hat to wear, which I think is going to be glorious. Put this older SCOBY aside for now. I just wanted to use it for the top of the hat, and hopefully the rest, this beautiful healthy new layer, will be enough material to form the sides and the brim of the hat. Let's find out, I guess. I'm on a bit of a sloped hill unfortunately, and SCOBY is nice and slippery, so it has a tendency to slide, and I'm literally just using, this is a core flute box, and I've literally just got cardboard off a cardboard box here. Got a pair of scissors, and that's all the material I'm working with on this beautiful sunny day in southeast Queensland. That's sliding all over the place there. I'm just going to find a couple things to prop it up. This is going to be pretty rough. Basically what I'm going to do here is cut strips and hope that it's enough for the wall of the hat. For the brim it's just going to have to be patchy because I'm going to have to create a circle somehow. Hopefully this is perfect length for the brim. We'll find out. So I've gone ahead here and cut these up into 3 strips. So this is going to be the challenging part where I'm going to have to brainstorm a bit. I mean, not only is it not quite long enough, but getting this thing to sit around the edge is going to be a real challenge. I've made it wide enough that it will overlap with the top and base and set to itself. I've got to figure out how I'm going to be able to clamp it on there. So I've gone ahead and made lots of snips along the edge there to allow it to fan out a little bit. As you can see, there's still a little bit of a gap there, but that's not my main problem. My main problem will be figuring out how to get it to stay while it dries. Let's see if I can skewer it with these little nails. I would use toothpicks if I had any. As you can see, it's quite hard to pierce. It's got the texture of like tough raw chicken, if that helps describe it. It's pretty gross to hold, but I love the stuff. I've put all those nails in and it's holding up really nicely. Now these nails obviously is going to affect the structural integrity of the hat in terms of the strength and having these little holes, quite possibly anyway, I don't really know. The way I'm going to justify that decision is after it's all dried I could even just add another layer all around the edge. As you can see, my circle I used for the top had a bit of a weak patch there. When the SCOBY was made there was a little kind of thin spot, so I've literally just cut out a piece and slotted it in, and you can do stuff like that. It's just going to seal really strong, and all that this needs to be doing is resting against each other and they'll seal. If they're touching each other, it'll seal really nicely. These nails aren't even joining these pieces together. It's literally just going through the side piece and resting on top of the bin there to stop it from slipping down. Yeah, it's really, really nice. That seemed like a good solution. I'm just going to clean all these bits of dirt and grass off, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. It's going to look rough no matter what. It's a friggin' vegan leather hat. It's going to be looking pretty scummy, but beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So another thing that I'm also doing with the layers, so that the cardboard doesn't get completely wet and break through, is just kind of squeezing as much juices out as I can before slopping it on. I'm going to go ahead and try to make the brim now. So the brim's going to be pretty patchy, because obviously I can't just twist that around there, and I don't have a big enough piece to just cut a circle out, so I'm just going to do patches for the brim. Yeah, as you can see, I've just kind of planted pieces around the brim like so, and I'm going to kind of cut it so that it's more of a circular shape, but that'll literally just patch itself together really, really nice, that brim. There's a little weak point again here. I'm going to have to put a little piece in there and just rest it so that it seals itself. Yeah, my partner's just come out here to have a look. First time seeing it. She hates it. She'll love it once it's done, eh? In a world where most of our clothes are made by little Bangladeshi kids and Uyghur kids in China, and women and children in concentration camps. This is what you got to do, and we've just got to start making our own clothes out of what we've got. And disgusting as they may be, this is the way forward, the way to our future.
Happy SCOBY tea.
Yeah. Where the join didn't connect, I've just patched with a perfect little triangle. You just got to basically make sure it's either overlapping or snug tight together, and you shouldn't have an issue. It doesn't have to be as neat as that either. As you can see, this weak spot, I'm literally just slapping this little bad boy on there. That'll do the job really. When it gets really thin, once it seals, it'll all get really nice and thin and firm and strong. Yeah, that's how it's going. So I've cut around all the edges to make it nice and circular. It's not a perfect circle by any means, but as I say, I'm not striving for perfection, and I think there's beauty in the rugged, so long as it holds really well, and it's going to be a nice broad-brimmed hat. Main thing I'm worried about at this point is the little gaps along the edge here. Slapped on a few bits of this raw chicken, and yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now it's just hope and pray really, and I'll see how long it takes. So it might even take more than a couple days. I'll probably cover it over during the night so it doesn't get too moist again. When I take the nails out, there'll be a little holes, so I'll probably do another few little patches once it's all sealed. Yeah, I'll see you in a couple days. So this is day 2, and as you can see, it's definitely going to need more than a couple of days. It's still pretty moist, but it's starting to shrivel up really nicely, and it's held together. Never ever brew kombucha in anything that's metallic, because as you can see, it kills the SCOBY. In this case, it's turned out to be quite a cool effect, but yeah, if you're brewing it for drinking, obviously don't do that. I've tried to get it in as much full sunlight as I possibly can. Obviously, the longer it's in full sunlight in a day, the less days it'll take. It's going to be a complete write-off, because it's very, very cloudy, and it'll probably remain that way for the rest of the day. But what I've done is I've taken all the nails out now, and I've stuck another real thin layer around the edge of the top and edge of the rim, and that'll help bind it together a bit stronger. So I'm just going to leave it all covered up for today in case of rain. Day 5, and it's been like 2.5 days of cloud, but finally starting to notice some real change. It's getting real leathery along the edges. Not too long to go. It's still pretty moist in parts, but it's looking good. It's finally done and ready to remove from the mold. It's gotten really, really thin and a bit see-through. So this is how it's looking, and there is just one tiny little crack, which is the spot where I put that triangle piece in to fill that hole. My reflection on that is I should have obviously made sure that it overlapped rather than just fitting snug, so that the join would have been nice and strong. But I'm going to patch that up with another layer of SCOBY. Obviously it's very, very light and thin. What you can do to make it strong is mold it to a layer of mesh and have it part mesh underneath and part SCOBY on top. But I'm pretty dedicated dedicated to try to make it 100% SCOBY. No gluing, no stitching, nothing. I've flipped it over into the bucket and I've added another layer of just random patches of thin SCOBY here. I'm also going to try to make a SCOBY chin strap. So it's the next day now, and now that that new layer is almost dried, I'm just going to drill a couple of holes for the chin strap. I'm literally just going to do hole to make sure these holes aren't weak spots. I've added some little strips of SCOBY around the edges of them. So I've got these two long pieces of SCOBY that I've tied together, and that's going to be my chin strap, just like so. So now when I put on the hat, I've got a way of securing it nicely and tightly to my head. And so here it is, the final product. I'm going on an overnight canoe trip tomorrow, and I'm going to wear this hat for the whole trip, so you get to see it in action and see how it holds up practically. The start of my SCOBY hat functionality test. About to start a 2-day canoe trip. This big lake here behind me will be very windy. We're going to find out if this hat survives the journey. I'm hoping so after all that work. It's going really well. We've been at it for about, I don't know, 45 minutes, and the hat's definitely holding up. How are you going back there, Frankie?
Feeling good, mate.
It rained very heavily last night, and one side of this hat was sticking out from under the fly of the tent, and as you can see, this is what happens when it gets really drenched. A little bit of light wet is okay, but when it gets real drenched, it gets soggy again and floppy. If the clouds clear up and it's a sunny day, it'll dry out again. Just made it back from the 2-day canoe trip, and it's a resounding success. The hat's all dried off again as we were canoeing back. Yeah, absolutely successful. I'm pretty happy. Just in the process of plaiting some SCOBY strips together to create an ornamental area around the brim. The last thing I'm going to do is a mixture of 50-50 beeswax and coconut oil and paint it all over the hat to waterproof it. If you are a pure vegan and don't like using beeswax, you could probably use candelilla wax or something of the sort. And I'll add a tiny drop of olive oil for good luck. Perfect.